What up, roomies, and welcome back to In the House Podcast. It's your boy the other day. And tonight, on Neighbors, we're stepping into the world of imagination, the type of world where aliens, power, betrayal, and destiny collide. Our guest is our guest is the brilliant mind behind the brand new sci-fi fantasy novel, The Creators. The one, the only, Amanda LaMarca. As an indie author, she didn't just write a story, she's building an entire universe. From the mysterious heroine of Saphira to the alien forces shaping her fate, Amanda created a world rooted in identity, difference, and empowerment. We're diving into what inspires her to create this universe, the journey of publishing her first book, and what she has coming next. Get ready for Get ready for creativity, world building, plot twist, and some out of the box questions because tonight Amanda LaMarca is in the building. Hey,
Hello.
what's up, girl?
Not much. How are
I
you
do,
doing
right?
tonight?
What's up?
I said, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm really good. I'm excited.
I'm excited too. And as you know, we've been talking for a while. So, I'm really excited to get this pod done with you. Talk about the book, talk about what's next, talk about, all the creative juices that were flowing when you created this. So, for anyone who's new to your work, what is the creators about and what sparked the idea?
So the creators it basically follows this girl named Serafina. And she discovers at a young age that she has like these magic powers, and
Okay.
they end up causing some trouble in her life, and um she ends up feeling really like isolated from the rest of the world because she doesn't know of anybody else like her, and people unfortunately get hurt because of her powers, and
Yeah.
so she carries around a lot of guilt for that. Eventually she does end up meeting other people like her, and it kind of like opens her eyes to this whole new world and all these new possibilities. And she also finds out that there's this conflict that has been going on since before she was even born, and she gets kind of like wrapped up into that. Um, and without revealing too much, it's a bit of a family conflict for her, but I don't
Mhm.
want to say too much on that matter because I don't want to spoil anything. But it's sort of a family matter in some ways, and she does have to make the choice between like staying loyal to a family who doesn't care about her and trying to do what's right.
Mm. Okay,
So
okay.
yeah.
I know I butchered the main character's name earlier because I have a friend that has a very similar name. Her name is Sephora, but is Serafina, correct?
Yeah, Serafina.
All
She's
right.
she's named after there's these like mythical creatures kind of called the seraphim, and
Yeah.
they're like these super powerful angels with like fiery wings, and I just thought that with the way that like she has these powers and she kind of like becomes this hero, I thought that that would be like a cool thing to name her. So Seraphina is a name based off of the mythical creature of the seraphim.
Okay. Serafina is written as someone who always felt different. Was that inspired by like a personal experience?
You said what?
I said that Serafina is written as somebody who always felt different. Was like her character inspired by like a personal experience, or was it just like out the blue that you was like, hey, this character would be great in this story?
I definitely put a lot of myself into the book, and though I feel really blessed. I have a great support system at this point in my life, but growing up, I did not always feel that I fit in very well, and I dealt with like a lot of bullying and just feeling kind of isolated from people
Yeah.
until I was able to sort of fall into a group of people who actually like cared about me and made me feel like seen and valid. But it did take a while for me to like get to that point, and it kind of takes Serafina a while to get to that point as well. She has to go through some stuff on her own to kind of like learn who she is, and then that makes it easier for her to bond with these people that are actually on her side, and it makes it easier for her to trust them, which
Okay.
trust can be a big. I know in the at the beginning of the story she's like really like distrusting of everybody. She doesn't know who she can trust or who is just going to like, stab her in the back.
Oh, I got that. So you would say that like trust is like one of the key elements in the narrative.
It definitely is like a really big part of the book. I spent a lot of time building the relationships between the characters. I wanted them to have like these strong interpersonal relationships with each other. Just because I think that in my life personally, my relationships with people, like my friends, my family, like the people who have been there for me, um, their love and their friendship gives me strength. And I kind of wanted that to be like a theme in the book where when one character is struggling, there's always somebody else there to pick up the slack and help them through their issues.
Oh, I get that. I get that. So it's so you would you say that a big part of the narrative is like Serafina's going from like one aspect and trying to like find herself and find like where she belongs, kind of.
Absolutely. She goes through a really long period of time where she just feels like she doesn't belong anywhere. Um, she gets treated badly by, I guess, what you could call the normies, like the people without powers. She isn't treated very well by them. And so she does, yeah, she goes through like these trials and tribulations until she finds like a good group of people.
That's what's up. And what came first? Was it like the characters, the world, or did you like have the story more in mind before you got like into the detail?
It started as this really vague idea. I just thought, oh, wouldn't it be cool to write a story about people with special powers? And it just started as, like I said, just super vague, really general. And then as I started writing the outline, things started to come together a little bit more, and like the story started to take shape.
Mhm.
I didn't I knew how it was going to end going into the like writing the outline and planning the book and everything, but it was like a matter of, okay, how do I get from point A to point B? I wanted to make sure that like the details and everything leading up to that end point would still like keep people interested and, just make people excited.
I feel you. I feel you. That's dope. Um, since there's aliens, betrayal, identity struggles, what's the deeper themes that you were trying to explore beneath like the sci-fi underneath the sci-fi surface?
Um some of the themes that I really wanted to touch on was one, how important companionship can be, like friendship and love, and not necessarily romantic love, just like, the love that you have for your family or the love that you have for the people that you surround yourself with. So I wanted that to be an important theme. Also, um, again, I feel really lucky. I have like a good family life. Like my family is really cool and I get along with them. But one of the themes of the book that I wanted to drive home was that sometimes the people that you're related to by blood are not the people that you're meant to surround yourself with. Sometimes your chosen family ends up being a better family than the one that you were born into. So that was kind of another theme of the book, was finding your chosen family and finding your group of people so that you can grow and blossom and basically like thrive as who you really are.
No, I get that because I think that's something that everybody really goes through is like finding out that not just because you're related by blood doesn't mean that that person has your best intentions at heart. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Sometimes
exactly.
sometimes in family there could be jealousy or underlining rivalries that we may not be aware of. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So what made you get into like sci-fi and fantasy?
Um, I would have to give a lot of credit for that to my dad. When I was like a kid, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Sci-Fi Channel, But
Of
they
course.
I love the Sci-Fi Channel,
Me
and I
too.
know sometimes it gets a lot of like crap, like people like, oh, the movies are so like poorly produced or like they're so cheap, and I'm like, but I love them. I love them so much. Like it was just like something about the excitement and the adventure and like the trials and tribulations and then the ultimate victory at the end of the story. It just like I found it really inspiring. Um and then I definitely got into like I thought that like witches and wizards and stuff were cool. So that's kind of like where the fantasy aspect comes into it.
Yeah.
Um I did read Harry Potter a lot growing up. I'm not really like into it anymore, but that sort of like sparked a love for magic, I guess you could
Yeah.
say. Um but I would say like it really all started when I was a kid watching Sci-Fi Channel with my dad, for sure.
Okay, so it developed as a like a love thing with you and your dad, basically.
Yeah, it was like something that we bonded over. My dad is really into Star Trek, and I do like Star Trek, but I'm a little bit more into Star Wars. But like again,
Big facts.
very
Big facts.
like
I'm more of a Star Wars guy myself.
absolutely. I love Star Wars. It's kind of like a similar thing where you've got these people who have powers and they have to like all come together and try to stop this corrupt evil that is trying to rule the universe. And in a lot of ways there are some similarities in that aspect between Star Wars and my book, with the aliens, the evil, the coming
Yeah.
together to try to stop it. There are some similarities for sure.
That's dope. That's dope. Um, so in your love for sci-fi and fantasy, besides like the relationship you had with your dad, right, and how that influenced you, were there like any authors or like particular shows that like kind of like got you into this path?
I don't know if I would say there's like any particular authors, but cuz I feel like my love of sci-fi started from like movies and TV rather than reading. Like I didn't actually get into reading sci-fi stuff until I was older. So I would say one of my favorites is Stargate. I remember
Target
watching
was
the
dope.
original Stargate movie and just being like wow, this is so cool. I loved the concept of it. Um and it made me want to watch more, so I like watched some of the Stargate TV series, and it's just um but I don't know if there was like a particular thing that really like set it off. It was I have to go back to just watching those old excuse me
You good?
watching those old movies with my dad just really like set the whole thing in motion, and it just set up like this lifelong love for all things science fiction and fantasy.
That's dope. That's really dope. You were mentioning that you were writing an outline, right? So, just walk me and the roomies through like your creative process from like the outline to like finishing your book.
So the outline, basically I do like the most general plot lines. Like there's not I don't go into like a whole lot of detail when I'm doing the outline. It's more like, like it'll start like Serafina and the group travel into space and find trouble. And then once I have that outline written, then when I go to the actual book, I add in the details. Um and it's kind of like a rough process because I do a lot of of changing stuff. Like sometimes I will write something in the outline, and then as I'm writing it in the book I realize it doesn't make sense, or I don't like, the direction that it's going. So then I have to like go back and rewrite parts of the outline so that I can kind of like align it more with the direction that I want to take it in.
Okay, okay. Um, was there like a moment during your writing where everything suddenly like clicked, like where you just got in flow?
Yeah, I would say so. Like, to be honest, so I'm like 36 now, and I started writing the outline for this book in my 20s.
Okay.
So it's been kind of like it's been a long time coming, and I would say it like really clicked a couple years ago. I just kind of had this like, I guess you could call it like this realization that I really owed it to myself to finish this book. I had been kind of just, you know, half-heartedly working on it for like 10 years, and I was like, wow, this is something that's really important to me. I need to like actually like really commit to it. And then so I finished writing the outline, and once I finished writing the outline, it just felt like everything was possible at that point. Like I had all my main plot points written down, and then like all I had to do at that point was just let the creativity flow, and it really did. I actually did a lot of work on it while I was at my job. I have like a lot of downtime at work, and so I
Yeah.
would spend a lot of time on the computer, between helping people, and I would like work on my book while I was there.
That's dope because you're utilizing your time, so might as well, right?
Right, I'm like, if I'm not gonna be doing anything and there's not anything to do, I might as well be productive.
True, true. I know you're self-published,
Yeah.
right? What made you choose like the indie route?
So I've just kind of heard like horror stories about trying to go the traditional route, and how, you can send your manuscript to like 30 publishing companies and not a single one of them will be like, yeah, let's do it. There's like a lot of rejection. And some of the stuff that I've heard, it can take like years to break out in that traditional publishing world. And I felt like I had already put it off for so long, just by like, not committing to it quite as much in my 20s.
Yeah.
And I was just really ready to have it out there in the world, and so I chose to do the self-publishing route, so that, um I guess, we do live in like this world of like immediate gratification. People want to, have that gratification right away, and so I guess that was part of my um inspiration for going the self-publishing route. But mostly, like, it was just important to me to get the story out there, like, even if I don't make, like, I don't expect to become like a millionaire or anything like that. I just want my story to be out there and for people to enjoy it, um, and to get feedback from people. Like, I'm really excited now that it's out there to start getting feedback from people about what they think of the story.
Okay, okay. And I'm gonna throw a hypothetical out there, right?
Okay.
Let's say the creators blows up, boom, blows up. Would you consider like releasing like a series and like extending it like Harry Potter or like Star Wars, where you're expanding the universe?
Well, it's funny that you would ask that, because I'm actually working on an outline right now for a prequel to
Hey,
the story. I don't know how far I want to take it as far as like building that world, but there was just some stuff from the creators that I really wanted to expand upon, but it just wouldn't have made sense with that story to expand upon it in that context. So after I finished writing the creators, I was like, there's this aspect of the story that I just think could be explored further. And so, basically, there's all these different alien races and the creators. One of the alien races is the creators. They are an alien race. They are very ancient and powerful. And then another alien race that is like very integral to the story, they're called the Kloveki. And
okay,
Kloveki is actually a Czech word that means people. And it seems, I don't know, kind of like silly to like name them literally the people, but um it just seemed like the right thing, because the nice thing about the Kloveki is like it's it's not like a specific like ethnicity. Like, you have all of these different people, and so I wanted something a little bit more general. And they just have like a really interesting origin story, and so that's actually what the prequel is going to be, is the origin story of the Kloveki.
okay. And how much does like the prequel? All right, if somebody reads like the creators, right?
Hmm.
and then they read the prequel, how much more enlightened would the original story become?
Um, I don't know if it would like necessarily change a lot as far as like the perspective on the story goes, but you would go into it knowing stuff that the characters themselves do not know. So like
Okay.
I would still recommend reading the creators before reading the prequel, because there are going to be some things that get spoiled, like some plot twists in the creators that would be spoiled by reading the prequel first.
Okay, okay, that's
Yeah.
cool.
But I
Um,
mean it definitely it would add something to it. You just there would be some stuff that you wouldn't get, that like, what? Oh my gosh, like plot twist stuff.
oh, if you like read the prequel before the original, I
Yeah,
get
it,
you.
it would spoil some stuff for you in the original book.
Okay, that's cool. That's dope. I'm with you. I'm riding the wave with you. Um, what would you say was the hardest part about publishing your first book?
Um, well, like first I had to do a bunch of research, just trying to figure out like what good self-publishing companies there are out there. I did end up settling with Amazon self-publishing. It has got it's definitely got its pros and cons. I think the hardest part, once I chose to use Amazon, was the formatting aspect of everything, because you have to do the like with self-publishing, you got to do all that stuff yourself, all of the formatting, making sure that like the cover, like with the cover, I had to make sure that all the lines lined up and that it wasn't going to be like, you know, all crooked or askew or off center. And that took the cover alone, just like the design of the cover wasn't actually too bad, but it was like formatting the cover and making sure that it was gonna, when I uploaded it, that it was gonna like upload correctly and look good. That actually took me like several hours to of basically just like tweaking it and then re-uploading it and then
Yeah.
tweaking it and then re-uploading it, just until I finally got it just right so that it would fit into that template.
All right.
Um and then I guess like my my biggest complaint about publish self-publishing with Amazon is that like the aspect of getting paid. You have to have like a minimum amount of
Yeah.
sales before they'll actually cash you out. So I'm kind of like at the mercy of the buyers to to get to a certain point, and then they'll cash me out.
All right.
So I would say that's like the biggest downside, is just like having to wait and um not be able to like get like a monthly, whatever you want to call it, like a payout.
Like a
Um
monthly statement.
yeah, like
Statement.
that's kind of what I was hoping for, was like a monthly thing, but it's basically like you have to get to $100 of sales, and then and that's like royalties, like you and the royalties, it gets a little bit complicated with the royalties too. Like I actually make more from the ebooks than I do from the physical books, because the ebooks do not carry that printing cost. So like where I'll make like $6.50 on an ebook, and I only make like $3.50 on the
The physical.
physical books. And
Ooh.
so I have to like get to $100 in royalties before Amazon will actually like cash me out, basically.
Mm.
So I do find that a little bit frustrating, but ultimately my goal was just to like get the book out there. And so in that aspect, I feel like I have succeeded, and I feel pleased with the results of
Well,
like of the effort.
dope. Because listen, you put a story out there. You know, you gave something to the world. Now you're just waiting for the world to give it back. You know what I mean?
Pretty much. Yeah. I At this point it's like in some ways it's out of my hands. Like I'm not gonna like go back and like tweak the story and like republish it. Like it's out there, and I'm just excited. Um, I'm excited to get that feedback from people. I haven't gotten any I haven't gotten any reviews on Amazon yet, so I'll be really excited when I get my first review on Amazon. Cuz like the more reviews I get, the more likely people are to purchase my story. Cuz I don't know about you, but like when I go onto Amazon, if I see that like a product has like no reviews, I get kind of like sketched out a little bit. I'm like, I don't know if I really want to buy this because nobody has any opinions on it. So like I don't know anything about this product and I don't have any like guidance to go on. So I think that having a review on Amazon or having multiple reviews on Amazon, I think that that would be really helpful.
All right. Have you heard any feedback from about the book yet?
A little bit. My dad actually proofread the book for me. He like helped me proofread it and like go through and help me with like spelling errors and punctuation errors and like grammatical stuff. Just like and like the flow of the book, and he told me that he really liked it. So, and I like to think that he's not just saying that because he's my dad.
Yeah.
But he said he really liked it a lot. And he's excited to read it again as like from a non-editing perspective. He's excited to just read it as just to enjoy it. Um, Everyone else that has purchased it so far is not like super far into it. So I'm still kind of like waiting for some more feedback. Mostly the people that have purchased it right now are like people that I know, friends and family. And um, so I guess there's a little bit of like concern that like I want them to be honest with me, like I don't want them
Yeah.
to feel like they have to sugarcoat it just because like we know each other. So I hope that everybody's being truthful that they like it, but everyone so far who has started reading it has said like it's very interesting and it makes them want to read more to like find out what's going to happen next.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's dope. Cause all my friends are assholes, and they tell me all my shit sucks.
Oh my gosh.
No,
I would probably actually cry. I'm sort of a big baby. I would probably cry if somebody was just straight up like, "Yeah, dude, this sucks. Your story's awful." I would be like, "Okay, thanks for the feedback," and then like go home and like just
no, but I have a really like rough group of friends. They're all amazing people. Like they're all amazing people in their own right. But yeah, they're really rough. So they'll shit on me before they give me a compliment. But hey, if they say it's bad, that means I'm on a good track. Because if it was bad, they'll just be like, I don't know. If they says it's shit, then I know I got something working.
well, that's good. Yeah, I my friends, I think that they're like a little bit less abrasive about stuff, so I don't think I'll have to worry too much about like a lot of negative feedback. But I have told people like just be honest with me, like don't just say you like it to like avoid hurting my feelings. Like I don't, you know as much as I joke, like I can take constructive criticism. Like if people have something that they want to say about it, like I'm definitely open to hearing that. And then sort of like taking that constructive criticism and trying to apply it to um future projects.
No, I get that. And a lot of people, especially with creatives like us, they don't really they can't really differentiate the difference between like sincere constructive criticism versus somebody hating, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely I don't like people who are just mean spirited, but unfortunately there's just a lot of people like that out there. And so I have kind of in some ways I've like opened myself up to having to I've opened myself up to the chance of people being just like mean spirited rather than like genuine and like trying to help. But so far like I've only had like one negative person, and everyone else has been really positive about everything, so I'm feeling like good about how things are going so far. And I want to just like keep pushing forward, um Because, I mean, as long as I put myself out there, then at least I've got a shot.
Hey, listen, when you start getting haters, you know you're on the right path. Believe me, you don't know how many times I get called an idiot on YouTube. They're
Well,
like,
I
look at
definitely
this.
do not think you're an idiot. You
No, no,
seem
no.
you
I'm
seem
not.
pretty great.
Thank you. It's the craziest thing because the same people that would call me an idiot or talk shit would be my repeat viewers. So
That's, that's so
it's
funny.
a very weird thing knowing that you're talking shit, but yet you're consuming all my content.
It almost seems like they're trolling at that point. Like you're
Yeah,
just being a troll.
and I'm cool with that. Like, go ahead, troll, do whatever you want. Just make sure to put it out there. You know what I mean? And that's awesome. That when you have the ability to just put your story out there and just absorb everything that comes with it, the negative and the positive, it's an amazing thing.
Yeah. I'm trying to
Uh,
just like take it for what it is and sort of just like go with the flow basically.
Not for you. Was there like ever a moment of doubt, and what did you do to push through it?
Um I had a lot of moments of doubt along the way, just like feelings of self-consciousness like, is my story really good? Am I actually creating something that is worthwhile? And then after I published it, um I started well, I had one person say to me, they were like, "Well, you're not going to go the traditional route." And I said, "No, I don't. I really just want to get my story out there." And they're like, "Oh, well, don't you want to be, don't you want your book to like win prizes and don't you want to become famous?" And I'm like, "That would be nice, but I'm more concerned about just putting myself out there." But I do have moments where I feel that way too, like what they said about, aren't you worried that, it's not going to work out because you're not doing it the traditional way? And I do have those fears, that because I'm doing the self-publishing route, like maybe I might not be as successful. So I definitely do have those worries, but I try to just kind of like not like ignore it, but just sort of like push it to the back of my head and try to focus on the positives. Um so but I for the most part I feel really happy with how everything has turned out, and I'm like I said, I'm just really excited to have it out there. It just feels like a dream come true to be able to say that like I'm a published author. Like I've got a book out there. It's just a really cool and surreal feeling.
That's dope. What did writing this book teach you about yourself?
Um it taught me a lot more patience, and it also taught me that I am capable of doing things if I just set my mind to it. Um, 'Cause like I said earlier, the idea for this book came to me when I was like in my early 20s. So it's been a very long time in the making. And I think that part of the reason that I wasn't super committed to it was that I didn't like believe in myself in the beginning of the process. Whereas once I got into my 30s and I started like focusing on it more and giving myself a little bit more credit, um that's when things really took off and I just felt a lot better and more confident about the process.
I feel you. I got you on that. I go through a lot of that too with like my music and stuff. Like with like I suffer from like imposter syndrome, so I get fully where you're coming from with that, and just like putting your stuff out there and be like, all right, I hope this all works. It's it's a leap of faith, but yet again, it feels um freeing if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it absolutely does. Like if I didn't take this chance, I would forever be haunted by thoughts of like, what if I had done it, what if I had put myself out there? And now I don't have to wonder about the what ifs because I did it, I put it out there. And um regardless of how many books I sell, regardless of what people think of it, I will always feel very accomplished in the fact that like I made something and I put it out there. That's always going to be like a good feeling for me.
I feel you. And now that we're talking about what ifs, what if Serafina popped into your living room right now? What would be the first thing she would say to you?
She would probably be like she would probably like try to convince me to help with the conflict. She's a very convincing person. She's very like headstrong, and I think that she would probably just like tell me to quit being scared and just do it.
All
Whatever
right.
it is that like whatever it is that like if I'm hesitating about something, Serafina would tell me to go for it. She's a very like she's just like a very go for it kind of person. Like she has a lot of like insecurities, but in the end she always is just kind of like very fierce. So I think that she would probably try to get me on board with whatever she's doing and then try to like make me feel better about myself in the process.
I feel you. I can relate to that. I can relate to Serafina on that level.
Yeah.
Um, that's dope. Are there any other characters in the book that stand out to you, or like you really like worked really hard on like developing that character?
To be honest, I worked really worked really hard on all the characters. All of them have like all of the names in the book have like a special meaning. You know, like I explained kind of like the background of what Serafina's name means, and like literally every character in the book, their name has some type of special meaning that relates back to their character. Um Altogether there were like 15, I guess 15 what you could call like main characters.
Yeah,
Um the ones that like I spent the most time developing. Um, I think a few of my favorite characters that like Serafina really bonds with would be like Dakota and Liam and Moema, and then she also has like some really great like those are like they're closer to her age, so they have like they're able to bond over they all become friends really quickly. And then there's also some really good adult characters in the story. I didn't want it to be like all the adults were just like jerks.
yeah.
But so there are some really good adult characters in the book. One of my favorites is Gregory. He becomes like a like in some ways like a father figure to Serafina. He cares very much about her safety and her well-being, and at the end of the day he's just on her side. Like he supports her no matter what, basically. And he also like protects her and tries to make sure that nothing bad happens to her. So, and he's one of the people who has powers, so he is able to like help her in combat situations. And there's just a lot of situations in the book when Seraphine is at a low point, like either physically or mentally, and Gregory's always got her back. So I really enjoy him as a character. um he reminds me a lot of my dad in some ways, in that he's always got good advice and he just wants the best for Serafina. So, um, I mean, there's so many characters. Like, if you get into the aliens, there's like, um, 5 main alien characters that are like really important to the story. And, but they don't come in until like the second half of the book. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Since your book is full of powers, conflicts, and aliens, what powers would you want for yourself if you lived in your own world?
If I had to pick one of the powers from the book, I would probably go with psychic magic, just because I think that it's really handy. You can like communicate with people psychically. You can there's like a scene in the book where Gregory is like barely conscious, incapacitated, and he needs Serafina to drive this car to get them out of there. Well, Serafina's 10, so at this scene, so she doesn't know how to drive a car. She doesn't have any experience with that. So he's able to use psychic magic to basically implant the knowledge of how to drive a vehicle into her mind. So it's like she just gets this instant crash course on how to drive a car so that she can get them out of there.
Oh, that's
And it's
dope.
kind of like an intense situation, but that's like one of the things that psychic magic can help you with is you can literally like just directly put information into somebody's mind. So it's like there's a communication aspect to it, but there's also like a knowledge aspect to it where you can give people knowledge um, using the psychic magic.
That's dope. That's dope.
Yeah.
If the creators were to become a series or a movies, what production company would you want to like? Netflix, HBO? Who you think would do your series right?
Well, I kind of want to learn. I want to lean a little bit towards like HBO because I think other than the last 2 seasons, they did a really good job with Game of Thrones, and I just think that it was like I didn't really read the Game of Thrones novels. I take that back. I read the first one, and I did have a little bit of trouble getting through it. It was a little bit like long-winded and kind of like a little bit hard to follow, honestly, for me personally. Like I
Yeah.
know that other people have read it and they love it, and that's totally awesome. Like I'm not trying to like diss it or anything. It was just hard for me to get into the actual book. But then watching the series, I just felt like they did such a good job with it, and like HBO, they seem to have like a lot of money to throw around, so I feel like as far as like the production value, I think that they would have um the capability to really like invest money into like the special effects. um if I'm being really honest though, if it were to ever become a movie, I would kind of want it to be like an animated style movie. I don't know if you've ever seen this movie. It's called Titan AE, and
I've seen Titan 80.
it's one of my favorite movies of all time, and it's just so cool the way that they like animate all of the stuff. And I think that my book, like the powers and everything like that, I think it would be really cool if it was translated in like an animated um medium as opposed to live action.
Okay, that's dope. Cause I'm a big anime head, so I get it.
I was watching one of your episodes where you guys were discussing anime, and I was like very into that. I also really love anime, and I think that some of the just like the heroism that is present in anime gave me a lot of inspiration when writing my book because I wanted my characters to kind of like go through those same things that you see in animes. Like you see the characters really struggle at the beginning, but then they like slowly they train, they get better, and then all of a sudden they're like this very well developed person. And that was kind of like what I wanted to go for in my book, was like making sure that like they have these struggles. I didn't want everything to be too easy for them. And I feel like that's something that you see a lot in animes where it's like over a long period of time the characters get stronger and smarter and
Yeah,
become more confident in themselves.
no, definitely. Cause they're always facing bigger and stronger threats. You know,
Exactly.
like one of the a quick example that most people would relate to would be like the I don't want to say the transformation, but the sequence of Dragon Ball to Dragon Ball Z, right?
Yeah.
Like in Dragon Ball, you had Kid Goku, which was facing more human threats, until he came across, Demon King Piccolo. Where in Dragon Ball Z, he's facing like universal threats like Majin Buu. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's about the hero's journey, and I would say not only getting stronger, but gaining confidence and learning new things along the way.
Exactly. I love anime because like it's just really inspirational. you have these characters that overcome all the odds to like try to do the right thing, and even when it's really hard, they still keep pushing forward. Like I I don't know if this is really cliche, but I would say that like my favorite anime is One Piece, and I just love
One Piece,
like One Piece is like my favorite, and
One Piece is the shit.
I love how from like the very first episode they're always trying to like develop their skills and advance their skills, and like you said, there always is going to be some like bigger, badder villain that they have to like take care of. And I think I like how in One Piece they don't just always like immediately win the fight. Like sometimes they lose and
Yeah.
they have to like come back and like do training and like come back to the situation again when they're stronger and more able to deal with it. And I just I really like that because I mean, obviously you can't expect anime to be like realistic, but I think that it's nice to have some aspects, that make sense. Like it's not fun if the main character can just like beat all the bad guys immediately. Like that's not fun. It's kind of fun to watch them struggle and to watch them get better and stronger so that they can actually take on those bad guys that were initially giving them a hard time.
No, I feel you. I feel you, man. And that's actually one of the attractions of of anime to most people is just seeing besides like the spectacle of it and like the wild animation and the power scaling of it, is just seeing the realism of how even though this main character or this cast of characters are the people that you're following, it still shows the realism of anyone could get defeated at any time, but it's how you deal with that defeat and rise up from it that is truly special.
I agree. And I think it's really relatable to like real life in some ways. Like, and I know that I'm not the only one. Like, I've been through a lot of stuff in my life, and a lot of it felt like I was losing battles left and right, like to my own problems, things that were going on with my life, whether it be like people that I was dealing with or like just like mental stuff or emotional stuff. It never just came easily. I had to like work for it. And I think that anime and stories that are similar to anime, they're very relatable because you have these characters who have to struggle to get to where they're going. And I think that everybody can relate to that because we all struggle.
True. Who would back to like the casting, right? Who would you cast as Serafina
Hmm.
if you could choose one actress?
So that's kind of tough because it follows her life from like the time she's 4 until she's 18. So I feel like there would have to be multiple actresses. But like one person who kind of comes to mind would be like maybe Abigail Breslin or Dakota Fanning. I both feel that I like how they're both like strong female characters in a lot of their movies, or their characters go through a lot of trials and tribulations and they have to like grow. um I don't know if I like could pick one specifically, but those two came to mind just because I've really liked like every movie that I've seen them in, and I think that they would do a good job of like playing later Serafina. I have absolutely no clue who I would pick for young Serafina, but like for older Serafina, I would definitely have to go with Dakota Fanning or Abigail Breslin because I think that they could both like do a really good job um portraying a powerful character like that.
Okay, okay. You mentioned that you also favorited Gregory. Who would you cast for him?
Oh man, that's so tough.
Hugh
Um,
Jackman.
Hugh Jackman would that would be pretty great. Honestly, in some ways, I feel like Hugh Jackman would. would do a really good job at playing one of the villains in the movie because he's just like so buff and
Yeah,
stuff. Um, Gregory is like an older gentleman, so I don't. Maybe. Oh, that's so tough. Like my mind, the first person who popped into my head was like Jeff Goldblum, but I don't know if Jeff Goldblum like. I want somebody who looks a little bit more grizzled, so he'd have to like do some make himself look a little bit rougher because Jeff Goldblum is like a very clean cut guy, and
true.
he always looks very like clean cut. But I love the wisdom that he brings to movies. Like his characters always have like this like innate wisdom. I feel like, especially in Jurassic Park. Um, I still love the line where he's like, "Life finds a way," and he was like, it was like in that movie, like everyone else was kind of just like awestruck by what was going on, and he was just kind of like, you guys, like, is this really a good idea? This seems like a
True.
pretty bad idea, actually. And he was right. It was a terrible idea, and lots of people died. But I don't. That's so tough. Um, ooh, you know who would be fun to play him? I'm drawing a blank. I'm so mad at myself right now. The guy who plays Magneto in
Sir,
Sir
the
Ian McKellen. Yes.
the original Magneto, right?
Yeah, original Magneto.
Okay,
I think he would be pretty cool at it. Cuz even though like he plays a bad guy, well, I don't want to call him a bad guy. I feel like Magneto's a really gray character, like, and in a lot of ways, even though he does villain type stuff, I feel like his motivation is not necessarily evil. He just like he's suffered at the hands of humans for such a long time that he just can't take it anymore, and he just wants to stand up for mutants. And even though his methods are very questionable, I think at the heart of what he does is he's trying to do it for the greater good of mutant kind. So
true.
I think that you know even though Magneto is kind of like considered a bad character, I think Ian McKellen would be a really good fit for Gregory, because he's very wise, and also like just age wise, he kind of like fits that age that I have Gregory pegged at.
Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. All right. All right. What would you say without spoiling too much? What was like the hardest scene to write, or like what scene meant the most to you?
Oh man, okay. There's like a few that come to mind when like Sarah has to like triumph over something, but there's also like this really emotional scene at the end of the book where Sarah Fina has to like let go of somebody that she cares about a lot. And that scene, when I was writing it, it actually like made me very emotional, and like I cried a little bit when I was writing it. Because it reminds me of some of my own personal situations. I think that happened a lot in the book, actually, where like I sort of like took what I was going through and incorporated it into the book. But there is, yeah, the scene at the end of the book where she has to say goodbye to somebody that she cares about a lot was really difficult to write, and that actually happens a couple times in the book where she has to say goodbye to somebody that she loves very much. And um even though those were like really tragic scenes, I felt really good about them. It just felt like they moved me, and that's what I want my book to do, is to move people. So
Mhm.
even if it's like a sad scene, I still felt really like pleased with how they turned out, just because I think that if I can make myself emotional while I'm writing the story, then hopefully that means that other people, when they're reading it, will feel those emotions that I felt while writing it.
Girl, nah. What I was gonna say, that's that's something that I feel that most creatives want to portray. Like they want people to feel that raw emotion that they put into their work into, and a lot of people feel it. You know what I mean? They might interpret it a little differently, but a lot of people feel where the author, the writer, the musician is coming from when it's impactful, when it's filled with that emotion. You know?
Yeah. There's a lot of really like bittersweet moments in the story where something bad happens but then something good comes out of it, whether it be like an emotion, like whether the good is like emotional healing, or whether it is, progressing um in training and, being able to take on the bad guys. um but it all came from like my heart and my soul, and so I just want to convey that kind of like emotional aspect of the story. So basically any of the scenes where there's like a lot of emotion going on, those were like some of my favorite scenes, just because I felt like they really like have an impact. They really hit close to home.
Nah, I feel you on that. And this is a side question, right?
Okay.
Since your book is filled with like aliens and magic and this fantasy world, do you believe that aliens actually exist and visited Earth?
Absolutely. Like
Uh,
I don't even have to think about that one. Um I'm a total believer in aliens. And I think that they've definitely come to Earth. And I think, and again, I don't necessarily believe everything the government says, but even the government came out and said that the aliens were real.
that,
So I'm like, well, I mean, that's got to be a good sign, because they've been trying to hide that for years, and then they finally come out and they're like, okay, okay, guys, you were right. There's
that
aliens.
there's
Like,
something
I
out
don't know.
there. Yeah.
I was like, okay, okay. I mean, we already knew that, but thanks for confirming it. No, I totally believe in aliens. I don't. I actually think that aliens had a hand in like the early evolution of humanity, but that
Mhm.
is I kind of lose people when I start talking about that, cuz my beliefs don't really line up with like a lot of the religious beliefs that are out there, and so sometimes I like, not intentionally, but sometimes I like upset or offend people because I have these theories, and again, they're all just theories. I don't have any way of knowing if what I think
Yeah.
is true or not, but I have these theories about aliens and like the birth of humanity, and I think that they're connected. I really do. I think that alien intervention is directly connected to the evolution of humanity and like what we've become today.
No, I completely agree with you because if you all right, just to give you a little background, right? I went to Catholic school all my life, from kindergarten all the way to senior year in high school, and then I went to college. Um, there's a lot of inconsistencies with the religious stories. I don't want to just put like Christianity on the front page, but like the major religions, there's a lot of inconsistencies because of the fact that a lot of the stories that are being told have root in like ancient civilizations, and like those are stories that are just being retold. You know what I mean? Like a great example is the narrative of Jesus, for instance, like the virgin birth, the chosen child, and all this good stuff. Like that story's been told for millennia, even before Jesus Christ came out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And then you have like, and just tying it in with the whole extraterrestrial thing. There's a whole bunch of ancient civilizations that were saying like, yeah, the sky people came, they helped us out, they taught us this, they taught us that. So it's like, for us to not believe that something else is out there is crazy, because even our ancestors who weren't quote unquote advanced as us were writing about them. And if they weren't as advanced as us, why would they take the time to make up these grandiose stories? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and like, if it was just like one civilization talking about it, you could maybe chalk it up to like oh, maybe like they didn't know what they were talking about, maybe they're making it up. But when you have all of these different ancient civilizations talking about it, I just think that like it's hard, it makes it hard to deny. Um and like going back to like Stargate, the alien is God basically. And
Yeah.
like I think that I I think that that really inspired me a lot, and a lot of my beliefs. Like maybe like God and aliens are the same thing, you know? There's like when you think about like the way that they used to talk about like ancient gods and stuff like that, like they were all powerful, they came from like the sky,
And
and
yeah.
um it just seems like maybe there's a correlation that we don't have any proof of it, but maybe there's like a correlation between religion and science that you know people some people don't really want to look further into because it would kind of disrupt their belief system, or like put cracks in the foundation of their belief system.
No, I completely agree with you with that 100%. And is I feel that when it comes to like at least like we're not faith but religion, structured religion, I feel like that's more of a control thing than versus a belief or a faith thing. You know what I mean?
I
Like
think, yeah, there's a big difference. There's a big difference.
like who? All right, for instance, right? Who is who is the person that's gonna tell me that, oh, you're God's representative, and this is across any religion, right? You're God's representative. Who chose you to be God's representative? Like God didn't tell everybody else that you're the guy that He's talking to. You know what I mean? So like, so how could you like say, oh, God, this is the rule of God when you're a man? You know, when man or woman. Excuse me.
Yeah. No, I definitely get that. I think one of the things that can be a little bit detrimental when it comes to religion is, you know, all of the different religions, they all have like a book of stories and stuff like that. And I think my personal opinion is that those stories, they're more made like for guidance, not to be taken literally. And I think that some of the issues arise when people start taking the stories literally rather than taking them as advice and guidance, and like stories with a moral. Like even growing up, like the books that I read as a child, like they always have like a moral, some sort of underlying message that they're trying to get across. And I think that like all of the different religions, like what is supposed to be at the heart of their belief system is like being a good person and just like doing the right thing and morally trying to do right by other people. And I think I like that aspect of like religion and faith, but I myself am not a religious person, um because I'm a bit of a skeptic. I find myself like I find myself very skeptical of a lot of things, and it makes it hard for me to kind of like pin down what I actually believe in. It's more like I just have all these theories floating around in my head,
Yeah.
but I don't want to I don't want to presume that I know more than anyone, or that my beliefs are superior to anyone, because that's not my vibe. I just try to be open-minded, and that's like what I would like to see in other people, is an open-mindedness to sort of open that discussion, as far as like, okay, well, we might not see eye to eye, but at the heart of both of our belief systems is just to do good. And I wish that more people could kind of like see past the differences of their religious systems, and try to like focus on the stuff like you said, like the virgin birth and the chosen child and everything. Like you see that story in so many different religions, and if all those different religions can have similar ideas, then I just think that it would be nice if people could like get along a little bit more and not fight about religion so much, because I think that at the heart of them they actually have a lot in common.
No, they do, and that's the craziest thing about it, because when people talk one on one, like you could take a person from any religion and another person from any other religion, bring them into a room together, they're gonna have a lot more similarities than differences.
Yeah.
It's when you have like the masses, that's when the differences are kind of like highlighted, because they're like, oh no, our thing does this differently from yours, so that makes us better, or those kind of cases. And it's like, how can I say it? I don't want to say ignorant, but it's very narrow minded.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would say I think that unfortunately, I think that on paper, religion and faith and stuff can be a really good thing, but unfortunately people twist it into something that
yeah,
is not what it was intended to be. Um in my book The Creators, I don't talk about religion like a whole lot, but there is a character in the book who sort of she's religious, and she like goes to church, but she has kind of fallen into the negative side of religion, and her opinions on things that would like make her question her faith, like she's very negative towards anything that would like poke holes in her theories or her faith. Um,
okay.
but I like that's really the only time that I touch on religion in the book, because I didn't want it to be about religion or to seem like I was like bashing religion, because that's definitely not what I want to do. I think everybody should be able to like believe what they want to believe as long as you're
Cool.
not hurting people. Like
Yeah,
I think once you cross that line where you're trying to impose your beliefs on other people, that's where I take a little bit of issue with it. But like as long as you're just doing your own thing and you're letting other people live, like just live and let live, I don't see anything wrong with it.
and I agree with you 100%. What message do you hope readers carry with them after finishing the last page of your book?
Oh, that's a tough one. Basically, like to just not give up on yourself, and also to accept that you can't always do everything on your own. Like have faith in yourself, but know that there's no shame in needing help and needing a support system. Because I think like at the core of the story is friendship and perseverance. And so if that's the only thing that people take away from my book, like I would be happy about that, because those were elements that I tried to like really drive home and touch base on a lot in the story.
I got you. I got you. And what final thoughts do you have, or what advice would you have for the roomies?
Roomies? Um, just like if you've got something that you're working on, don't give up on it, because even in those moments where it feels really hard, like I can reflect back on all of the trials and tribulations that I had while writing the story, and now it just feels like everything, it was like all for a reason, and now I can like look back on the process and feel really proud of myself for not giving up and for just continuing to move forward and try to make my dream come true, basically. And in some ways my dream has come true, because my dream was to get my book out there, and now it's out there. So I think that just don't give up on yourself. Keep going. It might seem really hard sometimes, but it's so worth it to once you get to the end. It's just so worth it.
I feel you on that. And roomies, remember, steel is forged from. Yeah, I messed that one up, but I'll edit that out. Well, roomies, remember, steel is forged from very hot flames. So when life is fucking you up a little bit, you just gotta endure it because you're gonna come out of the other end a lot better. And with that being said, peace out.